Just minutes after takeoff, an Airbus A321 carrying 186 passengers and 7 crew members encountered a critical situation. The aircraft's monitoring system alerted the crew to a concerning issue with the oil quantity in one of the engines. As the problem escalated, the pilots had to react quickly and decisively while flying over the vast North Atlantic Ocean with limited options. The tension in the cockpit was high as they worked to manage the crisis. Would they be able to land the aircraft safely, or would this emergency prove too great a challenge? This is the story of Flight 117. On November 1st, 2018, Flight 117 was preparing for departure. The ground crew loaded luggage and cargo, ensuring everything was securely stowed. This scheduled flight from Keflavik Airport in Iceland to Baltimore, Maryland, typically lasted around 6 hours, crossing the North Atlantic Ocean, passing over Greenland and Canada before reaching the United States. The aircraft for this journey was an Airbus A321, manufactured in 2017 and powered by 2 CFM engines. Just weeks before, from October 15th to October 28th, the aircraft had undergone a comprehensive C-check inspection at Adria Technica in Slovenia. At the time of inspection, the aircraft had accumulated more than 7,000 flight hours and nearly 1,700 flight cycles. A C-check is an extensive examination performed every 20 to 24 months, requiring the aircraft to be taken out of service for detailed inspections and necessary repairs. After passing all inspections, the aircraft completed 13 flights without any reported issues. Before each flight, one of the pilots performs a pre-flight inspection to ensure the aircraft is safe. This time, the captain conducted the check, examining the wings, control surfaces, landing gear, and engines for any abnormalities. Everything appeared normal, but an unseen issue lurked beneath the surface. Inside the cockpit, the crew verified the functionality of all flight controls, instruments, and navigation systems. Emergency equipment, including fire extinguishers and oxygen masks, was also checked. With all systems appearing to be in working order, the captain authorized boarding. Passengers, including families, business travelers, and tourists, settled in for what they assumed would be a routine flight. The crew comprised 2 pilots and 5 cabin attendants. The captain, a 45-year-old with 8,500 flight hours over 4,000 as captain, was accompanied by a 43-year-old co-pilot with 2,500 flight hours. For this flight, the captain would serve as the pilot monitoring while the co-pilot was the pilot flying. After final preparations, the aircraft was pushed back from the gate, engines started, and it taxied toward the runway. The cabin crew conducted safety demonstrations, ensuring passengers were informed of emergency procedures. As the aircraft reached runway 28, the weather was mostly cloudy with light to moderate rain temperatures between 4 and 7 degrees Celsius and winds from the southeast at 14 to 32 kilometers per hour. At 3:48 p.m. local time, Flight 117 received clearance for takeoff. The co-pilot advanced the thrust levers and the aircraft roared down the runway before lifting into the sky. The climb was smooth, with the pilots monitoring instruments carefully. Everything seemed normal as the aircraft ascended through the clouds. However, just minutes later, as they passed 7,000 feet, a warning appeared on the electronic centralized aircraft monitor. The oil quantity in engine number 2 had dropped to just 3 quarts. Before takeoff, both engines contained approximately 18 and 12 quarts of oil, respectively. A loss of 15 and 2 quarts was alarming. Despite this, the oil pressure was stable at 46 psi and the temperature remained at 63.5 degrees Celsius. The crew consulted the Quick Reference Handbook, which advised monitoring the oil pressure and temperature for further signs of trouble. Minutes later, at 11,000 feet, the oil quantity for engine number 2 dropped to 0. The ECAM display replaced the oil reading with 2 X symbols. The pilots initially suspected a sensor malfunction since oil pressure and temperature remained steady. However, 30 seconds later, the oil pressure began to decline. It became clear they had an engine oil leak. The issue stemmed from errors made during the recent C-check. Technicians had incorrectly followed the top-line instructions rather than the detailed steps outlined in the Airbus maintenance manual. This led to premature installation of the oil filter element, preventing proper alignment. Over time, engine vibrations caused the filter to shift, creating a gap that led to an oil leak. Additionally, an O-ring had been installed incorrectly, further worsening the problem. As the oil pressure dropped further, an ECAM low-pressure warning appeared. The pilots followed emergency procedures and, based on the QRH, they shut down engine number 2 to prevent catastrophic failure. Shutting down an engine due to an oil leak is crucial to prevent mechanical damage and fire hazards. Passengers sensed a change in engine noise and grew anxious. The cabin crew reassured them, explaining that the situation was under control. The Airbus A321 is designed to fly safely on one engine, but continuing to Baltimore was not an option. Flying over 5 hours on a single engine was too risky. The captain decided to return to Keflavik. At 4:06 p.m, the captain declared a pan emergency and informed air traffic control that they had shut down one engine. There was, however, a significant issue. The fuel tanks were still full, making an immediate landing difficult. The crew considered burning off fuel by circling, but that would require too much time, increasing risks. Instead, they prepared for an overweight landing. Unlike larger aircraft equipped with fuel dumping systems, the Airbus A321 does not have this feature. The crew had to land with full tanks, which increased stress on the landing gear and extended the landing distance. Fortunately, pilots train extensively for overweight landings in simulators, preparing them for emergencies like this. As the aircraft approached Keflavik, the crew followed emergency protocols. The captain took over as pilot flying, while the first officer coordinated with ATC to ensure emergency services were on standby. The approach was adjusted to compensate for the added weight, requiring precise control. Flaps were deployed to maintain lift, and the landing gear was extended. Inside the cabin, passengers remained tense but trusted the crew. Moments later, the aircraft touched down on runway 19. The extra weight extended the landing roll, but the captain skillfully used the brakes to slow the plane safely. Applause erupted in the cabin as the aircraft came to a full stop. Emergency services inspected the aircraft and confirmed that it had landed without structural damage. After parking at the terminal, engineers inspected engine number 2. They found oil inside the cowling and a loose drain plug. Further checks revealed a second oil leak in engine number 1, caused by the same improper installation. The airline inspected its fleet, finding 3 additional aircraft with similar issues. The maintenance provider in Slovenia also discovered another improperly installed drain plug in their hangar. In response, the engine manufacturer issued a service bulletin revising the installation procedure to prevent misalignment of the filter element. Fortunately, thanks to the skill and professionalism of the pilots, the emergency was managed safely, preventing disaster. This incident serves as a reminder of the importance of meticulous maintenance and the critical role of well-trained pilots in handling in-flight emergencies.